Continues to move us into the Passion story. We really already took that turn with the Isaiah passage, and now we continue in the Gospel of Mark. The readings selected for this day in the lectionary are actually longer than I would ever try to do all of in one service, and so I will hit just a couple of snippets from those readings, beginning first with Mark 14:1. Listen for God's word to you. It was 2 days before the Passover and the festival of the unleavened bread. The chief priests and the scribes were looking for a way to arrest Jesus by stealth and kill him. For they said, "Not during the festival, or there may be a riot among the people." Following this, of course, they do find a way to arrest Jesus stealthily. And by the time we pick up the reading now, they have brought Jesus into custody and taken him before Pilate. Now at the festival, Pilate used to release a prisoner for them, anyone for whom they asked. Now a man called Barabbas, who was in prison with the rebels who had committed murder during the insurrection, and so the crowd came and began to ask Pilate to do for them according to his custom. Then he answered them, "Do you want me to release to you the King of the Jews?" For he realized that it was out of jealousy that the chief priests had handed Jesus over. But the chief priests stirred up the crowd to have him release Barabbas to them instead. Pilate spoke to them again. "Then what do you wish me to do with the man called the King of the Jews?" They shouted back, "Crucify him." Pilate asked them, "Why? What evil has he done?" But they shouted all the more, "Crucify him." So Pilate, wishing to satisfy the crowd, released Barabbas for them. And after flogging Jesus, he handed him over to be crucified. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Coming from the state of North Carolina, this time of year is always an exciting time for me, and I'm talking about college basketball, not Palm Sunday. After all, the state of North Carolina has 4 teams in it that have won NCAA titles. Granted, Wake Forest hasn't won one since I was born, but I have witnessed UNC and Duke and NC State all win multiple times. And so I've kept the television on quite a bit the last few weeks, grumbling when the ACC game wasn't on because I happen to live in the Midwest now. And if you watch a lot of basketball this time of year, you may have noticed that this is the time of year as the season is winding down when some of the talk turns to the status of coaches who've, shall we say, not had quite as good a year as had been hoped for. This is the time of year when you start to hear who's going to be fired and who will make it back for another season. I mean, big-time college basketball, after all, is a business, and it doesn't really matter in this business what you have done in the past. All that really matters, at least in terms of job security at colleges where basketball is big time, is what have you done for me lately? I mean, it may be nice on the coaching resume to have a win of the big dance or to have gone to the Final Four, but if that happened 5, 10, 15 years ago, well, that and a couple of bucks will get you some coffee up at Stall's. And of course, this "what have you done for me lately" mentality is hardly the private regimen of basketball. When I moved from North Carolina to Columbus, I came in 2001 at precisely the same time that Jim Tressel was hired as the new coach of the Buckeyes. And when his team won the BCS National Championship following the 2002 season, well, he could do no wrong. Some people seem to think he walked on water, but after a string of bowl losses, the grumbling has begun. And I've not heard anybody suggest firing him, but I suspect that a losing season, maybe a thrashing from Michigan, and that would change in a hurry. Now there seems to be a little bit of this "what have you done for me lately" mentality at work in our gospel reading for this morning. I mean, we started out with Palm Sunday march with crowds shouting, "Hosanna, blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord." And when the religious authorities began to plan how to get rid of Jesus, they're concerned about the crowds, about the people. They want to arrest him, but they say not during the festival, for there may be a riot among the people. Yet when Judas offers them an opportunity and they get Jesus in custody and brought before Pilate, the religious authorities are able to stir up the crowd against Jesus. Presumably, some of the same folks who shouted "Hosanna" on Sunday are the very voices that asked Pilate to free Barabbas rather than Jesus. Presumably, some of the same voices now shout, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" Now, from a distance, it's easy to be shocked by these folks' behavior. How could they possibly reject Jesus so quickly after having proclaimed him their king? It's easy to condemn the folks for the way they turn on Jesus when they discover that he is not the sort of conquering hero that they had hoped he would be. But of course, these folks know nothing of Easter. They know nothing of the resurrection. Me, I know all about Easter. I know about resurrection. I know that the cross was not a defeat, but a victory. And yet, I still have my own version of "what have you done for me lately" when it comes to Jesus. And mine has nothing to do with Palm Sunday. Mine is connected to Easter itself.